if I see there are red flags now with a certain type of potential client or a certain client, I just remove them. I thank them. I wish them well. I don't want you to starve, but you just can't eat at my table anymore.
I love that.
And I find that there's a lot of the entrepreneurial stress comes from time wasted. And so the more organized I am with my time, then the more mental capacity I have for well-being and positive thought. And that kind of, as opposed to, I'm going to continuously keep these people around me that aren't doing what I need them to do or aren't providing value to me as an agency, and I'm just going to go to the gym and work it off. And it just doesn't, that's just not how my brain functions. So it's rip the Band-Aid off.
Welcome to the Leadership Launchpad Project, changing the way the game is played. This podcast helps purpose-driven leaders unlock their highest potential so that they can play their biggest impact game.
Welcome, everyone, to the Leadership Launchpad Project, changing the way the game is being played. And here we are, we're back in the locker room today. I'm Leanne Wansbrough, and I'm joined by my co-host, Shelly West. And we are taking the reins today, the two of us, because Susan Hobson is not able to make it this week. And Shelly and I are excited for our guest today. I'm going to pass it over to Shelly for the intro in just a second, but from reading our guest's bio, what really stood out for me was a mention of connection within the context of business. So I know I'm really looking forward to getting into our discussion today. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Shelly.
Hi, everyone. Okay, let's get started. So normal bios, we usually see a bit of a run list of people's career transitions and their awards and accolades and all of that wonderful stuff.
Achievements.
And I was pleasantly surprised when I received Eric's bio. And normally I don't read bios verbatim, but I think this one I'm going to. Eric Harbottle is a fantastic human-centric leader. He has over 25 years experience in marketing. He's come to realize that the most valuable part of work is connection, really understanding what makes people and businesses tick. He's driven by curiosity and the genuine desire to help others succeed, whether it's from startup with big dreams or an established brand looking for a fresh direction. At Addison Marketing, they're not just strategists or creatives, they're listeners, collaborators, and partners. And for Eric, it's never been just about campaigns or metrics. It's about building trust and being part of something meaningful. And as a husband and as a dad of 3 girls, he's busily juggling work and home life always, but loving absolutely every minute of it. Eric, I'm going to pass this puck over to you because I've got to tell you that bio for me was absolutely awesome. It didn't speak to the run list of the million different positions that you've had throughout your career, the starting of the business or anything like that. This was really very human-centric. So I'm going to pass it over to you. And I think our audience would love to learn first a little bit about Eric as well as Addison Marketing Solutions and what it is you guys actually do.
For sure. Well, thanks, ChatGPT, for writing that bio for me. You know what? I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. So I am Eric Harbottle. Addison Marketing Solutions is the company, and yeah, connections is a big thing for us. I had a quick coffee this morning with an old colleague, and I was talking about this podcast, and he was asking me what the definition of leadership was, and I didn't really have an answer for him. I think that for me, so I'll give you a little background on the company. So we are July, our 15th year in existence. Originally Addison Search Inc. And then we started getting questions for trying to help people find jobs. People thought we were a research or a headhunter. So we rebranded to Addison Marketing Solutions. And Addison is my oldest daughter, who's turning 17 this year, which is crazy. I've got 2 other little ones, and they're not happy about it. They're not happy about not having a company named after them. But
I was going to say, how did that go down? Yeah,
it is what it is. So so for me, I started the company. We the couple of us that have been here more or less from the beginning. I started as a consultant, coming out of a larger media company. At the time, 15 years ago, was a very different landscape, different place for SMBs, small medium businesses, to advertise or to how to grow their businesses. And margins, contracts, all these things that now in today's world are a little archaic or a little behind the times. now it's all about working with someone that's going to support you and become part of your business. At the time, I wanted to create that. I'm smart enough and dumb enough to surround myself with really smart people. I never want to be the smartest guy in the room, but I do find myself a little I have a little bit of a gift of sort of seeing ahead or thinking ahead. And at the time I got out of where I was, and I had the luxury of having a few clients that wanted to work with me personally. So I went in as a consultant, and then as that business grew, I needed to surround myself with good people. And 15 years later, I'm still surrounded by a majority of those people, and we've grown to a team of 11 now, which is fantastic. And it really does. It comes down to connections. For us, it's not, I don't want to be your sales guy. I don't want to be your Google guy. I don't want to be your website guy. And all that stuff is it's just not who we are. For us, it's, if you have a goal and you want to, you want to exceed, you need help navigating. If you're happy with the way your business is today and you just want to maintain, I mean, the landscape we're in now is crazy. We're facing things we've never faced before. You just need someone to be the bartender, somebody to be the buddy, somebody to be the trusted advisor. We'll do calls with clients, and they just say thanks for letting them vent, and then we just talk about what their goals are. I have a joke in house, and with most of the salespeople I've worked with is our motto is we're in the information gathering business. So we need to, I can't solve your problem. I'm very good at building bicycles, and I know everything about bicycles. And if I try and sell you a bicycle, and yet you want to go for a ride with your spouse and you're looking for a tandem bike, and I never find that out, I'm trying to sell you one-seated bikes and you're looking for a two-seated bike. So
good analogy.
We always make sure that we're asking questions, and we're becoming a part of our client's team, and we're becoming part of what they're trying to achieve. And then we just align that with what we know how to do. And that's kind of carried us through, a lot of ups and downs, and carried us through the pandemic and got us 15 years in. So that's the long and the short of Addison Marketing today.
Awesome. Leanne, you want to go first? I got tons of questions for Eric.
Yeah, well, I'm curious. There's a lot to pick up there in terms of what you just said, but one of the things that kind of stands out for me is this sense of all along that you knew that you were going in this direction of, let's say, the trusted advisor, and really leaning in on the connections and that sort of thing. I mean, where do you think you started off with those skills? Is that something that you've kind of like honed over the years, or have you always just been a great communicator, and so that was one of your strengths and you just went with it?
I have core moments in my career. So in a past life, I worked for a competitor phone book company to what was the incumbent phone book company. And I remember specifically being in a meeting, very, very, very raw, very young, very new to sales, and talking to a potential customer and not realizing how much I was talking. And then when the client left the room, my manager, who was sitting beside me, turned, pointed at me and said, "Shut up. Don't say another word when he comes back in the room." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he came back in, and then he asked the gentleman if he could give us a tour of his location. The gentleman's eyes lit up. He said, "Absolutely." We left all of our sales tools and binders and whatever we had, and we put them down, and we had like a 45-minute tour of the place and listened to the man tell us a complete story about his family, how proud he was, what they'd achieved. And it had such a massive impact on me that, we just need to listen. So I don't think I came in with any special skills. I think I was just really lucky over the years. I worked retail for a long time, and for anyone who's worked retail, you get your ass kicked over and over and over again. And I've slept in a mall over Christmas. The Christmas rush. I lived through that, and so I think just over the years, I was really lucky to have leaders around me who, were strong when they needed to be strong with me, and were empathetic and open-minded and caring enough to give me tools. And that's, now at my ripe old age of 50, now I'm trying to pass those skills on to, to some of the team members we have, and coach them and give them, give them tips along the way.
Awesome. 25 years in, marketing, 15 years running your own business. I mean, there's got to be a pivot, a leadership pivot from when you first start, because it's so scrappy, inception point. There's a bit of desperation. There has to be when you're in a bit of a startup mode. How do you think your leadership style has now changed from, was it command and control before, or, where do you think there's been a bit of a pivot for yourself?
Yeah, I think personality-wise, I think everyone's different. I think some type A's come in very controlling, very, we're gonna do these in a linear fashion. I have a plan. We're gonna stick to the plan. I'm very much a heart on my sleeve. I think the lessons I learned was really defining friendships versus colleagues. I think that, advice to young entrepreneurs out there is, you always want to have friends or family work with you, and I think that that's a great thing. I mean, I think, I'm a big believer in supporting your friends, supporting the people that are around you, the people you care about. But, from a leadership perspective, is defining those roles clearly and the rules of engagement. Being able to have hard conversations it's a lot easier when you've set some ground rules. And,
Right.
and I think that from the beginning, that was a life lesson that I learned, an entrepreneurial lesson that I had to learn. Was I had friends come into the business, and then we had to make hard decisions, and those friendships were affected. Now I'm happy to say that most of them are good, but it's not always easy. And so I think that depending on your personality type, just make sure that as a leader, you set those ground rules. And I think that's definitely a difference in today's business versus where we were 15 years ago, where I still have people I care about joining the business. I still have conversations about friends becoming part of the business and helping us in different ways. And the only difference now is that I'm very, very, very crystal clear to myself before them, of how we're going to engage this, and how we're going to divide up the pie, or whatever we need to do to make sure that goes smoothly, but we keep a line between friendship and professionalism.
Yeah, well, I'm so interested in that, because I know you're saying, you're saying that you like having friends and family involved in your business. And usually I hear the exact opposite out there. Don't mix business with pleasure. Don't do business with friends and family, because it can get obviously disastrous, awkward, on one end, as I said, catastrophic on another end if things don't go well. So how do you navigate that balance between, we're friends, but we're also in business together? Because I feel like that is a very difficult thing to do.
I would struggle big time, because you
Oh,
can't, because you always hear this, right? Don't hire friends, don't hire family, because you can't fire friends and you can't fire family. But you've been through that. So what kind of rules of engagement have you put into place to protect yourself and the relationships?
Okay, so I'm gonna so I have a colleague, Corey, who works with us, and she is the keeper. She's our office Nona. So understanding that maybe I didn't have skill sets that were required to set these boundaries and to be able to fulfill my goals or needs or wants to work with some of these people. And when Corey joined the company a few years ago, her first mandate was to create documentation. And when you put things on paper, and then you put pen to paper, you're agreeing together that these are our rules we're going to live by. And the business has my daughter's name on it, and it's now my legacy, and I need to make sure that that's protected. So when I bring in people, I say to them, it's a privilege for me to work with you, but it's also a huge privilege for you to work with us. And I don't say me, because it's not about me. It's about this 15-year-old thing that we've built, that, at the core bottom of it is we help families buy Christmas presents. We help birthday parties be better. We help people's goals, dreams get met. The car I want to buy, my family vacation, I can finally buy a home. These are businesses that are owned by people that have families, that have dreams and goals. And our job is to be, we're investors. Our job is to take their marketing budgets or help them put together or help them achieve goals to get a marketing budget and then invest that to give them a return to help them achieve their goals. And so when I talk about our KPIs and what our focuses are, it's at the core of this is we help families. And we do have a niche market for our SMBs. We do have, most of our clients are, the people that we're talking to are usually the business owner, if not one removed. And so we have a personal connection with these people. So when I bring in friends or family or colleagues into this world, I bring them in and I let them know, thanks to Corey and the structure that we now have in place, is this is how we're going to play in the sandbox. And and I love that. And it hasn't always worked. And the motto I live by in those cases is we've given each an open opportunity to do this, and it didn't work out. And I'm a heart on my sleeve kind of guy. I care about you. I want you to be well fed. I want you to eat. I just don't want you to eat at my table anymore. And so that is the difficult part of it, because there is a chance it doesn't work out. But there's never been a situation where we've gotten to that point where either side didn't know it was coming, because we had this documentation, because we were well organized on what our goals were, and we understood what their goals were, and we aligned those with the company's KPIs, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. So it does create awkwardness, and I do understand that most people don't want to do it, and it's not like we're not doing it every day, but when we have the opportunity, I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I've met a lot of people that are in sales or are in the marketing world, and if I can cherry pick people and have them come in, then why not? Right? So you just got to lay the ground rules, and it comes down to communication and respect.
Love that. Now, I have the privilege of knowing you a little bit personally, and your wonderful family, which you do have, and you're a wonderful father. Just curious, because it does dictate it sometimes. Is what lessons do you think that you've learned from fatherhood that has shaped who you are as a leader, or vice versa, business into being the great dad that you are? Like they do intersect with one another, right? For personal and professional.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 daughters, so gray hair coming out.
Girl dad.
Yeah,
poor guy. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh boy.
But yeah, no, it does. I mean, there are times in every leader's role where you feel like you're babysitting kids at work, and sometimes you go home and you've got to turn that off, right? And you've got to remember this is not the same scenario, and vice versa. The life of an entrepreneur, my wife will be the first person to tell you she's an amazing support system for me, but she knows, like, there's days where I come home and I'm king of the world. We made a great sale on a Friday afternoon, and there's Fridays where we come home and I'm like, I don't know how we're going to pay for lunch on Monday, so there is the roller coaster. And even 15 years in, I still treat it like an SMB, I treat it like a startup, and because there's good times and bad times. And the pandemic, like everyone, it kicked us in the ass. We went from a big book of business to a lot of businesses. There were tears shed on phone calls with clients on both sides. Like, we went through it all, and we are, really super proud to have lived through it. And that's where I think, family supported me and our team emotionally, and, we're a great group here in the company, and we're not family, but we're close, and so there are times where, balance is required, but I think for the most part, both sides support each other in such a positive way that it's worth it. I've got friends that stayed in the Canadian corporate world, and they think, God, I wish I would have done what you've done. And I look at their pensions and I go, I don't know. Right. So it's, it's a mix of emotions, but I think they absolutely complement each other way more than cause stress for each other.
Well, I'm curious, like this whole, as you're talking about the life of the entrepreneur, obviously there's a lot of stress and pressure involved. You got a family to support. You speak to the roller coaster, the ups and the downs that are going to be part of any business, and especially when you're in charge of it. I'm curious how do you lead yourself in terms of your mentality or a mindset through like some of the low moments, like I think for myself, sometimes there's that saying of this too shall pass, where, I kind of think to myself, okay, I know that, next week or in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be beyond this. And that kind of helps me, approach, let's say, some of the challenges, in a bit of a pragmatic way. I'm just curious if there's anything that you feel like you continuously go back to in terms of a mindset.
Well, every ounce of me wants to say, like, a nice glass of whiskey and
well, that works too. Shelly saw me the other day getting ready to pour myself a glass of rosé. So I mean, we all
right? So yeah, you know what? I don't know if I've got a great answer for that one, but just how to deal with the ups and downs.
Yeah. What's your mindset? Like, is there any strategies? People go for walks, people like yoga? I know you don't do yoga, so don't say you do yoga. But what is it? What is your release to get your head on straight when you're going through trials and tribulations? Like, what's your outlet?
I play a lot of sports. I play a lot of sports, a lot more in the summer than the winter. I think it's definitely, to be fully transparent, it's definitely a workable thing for me. I think it's something that I'm constantly working on. And I find that if I do find an outlet, that outlet doesn't always last, and I need to replace it with something else. I'll play hockey a couple nights a week, and then midwinter I'm like, this isn't. I'm coming home more frustrated than I was before I left. I've got to maybe go for a walk, and start going for walks, and I think that the rip the Band-Aid off and just deal with it is more my style, as opposed to what tools do I have to mitigate this and try and find some relief. I'm more of a, be like, fuck that. I've had enough of this, and I'm just going to go do something else, and that happens in this world. Like, we've got clients that, we always say that, we're trying to get clients. We're a great agency. We care. We blah, blah, blah. But sometimes clients aren't a fit for us. And that causes stress. And I used to wear that. I used to wear it. I used to just, do everything I could to save that client or give them what they wanted. And, some clients they're looking for everything for nothing. And it is what it is. I mean, it's, and there's someone out there for everybody, but it's like being in a bad relationship and you're making excuses. And I used to do that a lot, and that caused me a lot of stress. So I think the ways I've dealt with things, the way I try and not deal with that is I identify and eliminate, what is, what's the definition of stupid, right? Like, I'm not going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect something different. So if I see there are red flags now with a certain type of potential client or a certain client, I just remove them. I thank them. I wish them well. I don't want you to starve, but you just can't eat at my table anymore.
Yeah, I love that.
And I find that there's a lot of the entrepreneurial stress comes from time wasted. And so the more organized I am with my time, then the more mental capacity I have for well-being and positive thought. And that kind of, as opposed to, I'm going to continuously keep these people around me that aren't doing what I need them to do, or aren't providing value to me as an agency, and I'm just going to go to the gym and work it off. And that's just not how my brain functions. So it's rip the Band-Aid off and find, a better place to not hurt myself, not need the Band-Aid. If you have a large enterprise team, it's hard to get to know everyone, but if you've got layers of management, your management team should be their goal, their sole focus should be to identify the desires, the needs, and the wants of their teams, of their members, because then they start wearing the ball cap of the corporate, identity. They get pride in their, they get pride in the product, they get pride in the company brand, and it's not just a uniform.
So you talk about, I know your team. I have the benefit of knowing your team and how much you inspire them and they look up to you. One of the questions that we do ask a lot is the definition of success, and how do you motivate a team without traditional metrics, either promotions or salary increases, because there's only so much of that to go around. Like, what's Addison's thing? Like, what do you guys do? What do you do as a leader? And then what do you guys do as a team to support and motivate each other to roll up your sleeves and get some shit done?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest leadership moments I ever received was I went through an exercise with an old manager that asked me what I wanted in the next 6 months. At the time I wanted to buy a car, and what are the things I wanted to achieve. And then what we did was we worked backwards from the opportunities for me to make money. So in that sales role, I could make a maximum of, say, $1,000 a day if I sold XYZ. And at the time, we looked at my numbers and I was doing $150. So I wrote $300 in permanent marker on the wall in my cubicle. And I was like, that's my number every day. If I can hit that number, then I know that I can buy myself whatever it was I wanted at the time. And he loved it because that $300 meant that I was going to exceed my target by 10%. So the KPIs lined up with my personal goals, and it was in writing. So what I've done is I've done that with all of our team members, and I've asked them, what do you want to do? What do you want? Who cares what I want? Who cares what the company wants? What do you want? Do you want to buy a new car? Do you want to, you have 2 kids? You've never been on a plane before? You want to go to Cuba with your family? Do you want whatever it is? And then it's our job as the leadership to put them in a position to do that, to give them, we have packages and programs here, which ones, are you a strong salesperson? Are you a consultative salesperson? Are you a phone jockey? Are you, what can we give you? I don't want to put a square peg in a round hole. So what can I give you to achieve your goals? Everything else is gravy for us. So from a leadership perspective, we don't talk about percentages, or we don't get into financial targets. We talk about what their goals are, and then we put together a plan and we break down that number, and we do everything we can to make sure that they hit their goal, whether it's us investing into lead generation to give them a foundation to then go network, and whatever it is we can do. Like I'm so lucky to have people who want to be part of something that I created. It's like I made a club and I've got members. Like
I love that analogy.
Right?
It's just so different,
Yeah.
right? The approach and the philosophy and the mentality, the mindset, the empowerment. It's so different than anything from, let's say, the typical corporate, Leanne, that we're used to, right? Where it's all based on, to Eric's point, financial metrics. And you don't necessarily get the best out of people, because when you don't understand them as human beings and what they're driving towards and what actually matters, at the end of the day, you feel like you're a bit of just a number, and it's all about dollars and cents versus what's actually motivating them to actually perform for the business.
Yeah, and to me, it's simple, right? And if you have a large enterprise team, it's hard to get to know everyone. But if you've got layers of management, your management team should be, their sole focus should be to identify the desires, the needs, and the wants of their teams, of their members, because then they start wearing the ball cap of the corporate, identity. They get pride in their, they get pride in the product, they get pride in the company brand, and it's not just a uniform, and I absolutely believe in that. I think if you lead them to water and they're thirsty, they're going to drink, right? And why tell them I'm going to take this water away from you if you don't, it's silly to me, right? So, and we're not the biggest agency in the world, and that's not our goal. Our goal is to have a number of relationships within our walls, and then have that mindset of relationship then transcend to our clients. And so our clients know that they have someone that cares about their well-being, their success, understands their goals. And not every client's going to share their personal goals, but what are your business goals? And then from there, if I say to, Nicole on my team, Nicole, congratulations, you sold 3 websites last month. You made $1,500 in commission. I'd rather say to her, hey, Nicole, congratulations, you sold 3 websites last month. That's 3 months of car payments that are now paid for.
It's flipping the script, the narrative.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you see this as part of your legacy in terms of, being an entrepreneur and a leader? Like, this is a question that we ask all of our guests: is what do you want your legacy to be? I'm just curious if this fits into it with you in terms of the focus on the relationships and the needs, wants, and desires of the people that work for you, and then obviously your customers as well.
It's funny. I think a lot about legacy, and maybe it's just I'm getting a little older, so I'm starting to think about later on. But I'll be dead. I mean, at the end of the day, so I have an ongoing joke. There's a friend of mine, if I can plug him, Randy Gill. He owns an amazing children's charity in Oshawa, all over Canada. It's called Their Opportunity, and I joke with him. They use their money to invest into parks, into basketball courts, into supporting kids getting access to sport. And we do a lot for them and with them. And my joke with him is that I want to have a park named after me. My last name's Harbottle. It's rare. I think that. So, when I think about legacy, every time someone asks me about legacy, I just give them the same answer. I just want to get a park named after me. I want people 50 years from now just to be like, what a weird name for a park, right?
That must have been a great guy.
I never knew that about you.
Right? So that's kind of my answer to that always. Everything else, it's, I've never, ever seen a hearse with a U-Haul attached to it. So you can't take it with you. So
you can't, you're right.
No shit about all the stuff we buy from the mall and Amazon, all the stuff, it's all gone.
They're all things. They don't matter. I want to know, Eric, I know that we're closing very soon, so I want to know what's lighting you up right now. Like, what are you excited about? What's the next chapter of Addison look like? What's on the horizon? Give us the deets, give us the goods.
Okay, so some stuff I'm really excited about. So Addison Marketing Solutions, as we rebranded, I guess 6-7 years ago now, we are now very stable in the Addison marketing side, and we are focused on solutions. Our 2025 and all of 2026 is all about the solutions part of the business. We've launched a sister company called Trailer Parks Canada, and soon to come will be trailerparksamerica.com. Trailer Parks Canada is currently the largest online directory and search engine for campgrounds in Canada. Our focus with solutions is to offer core owned brands that we own, that no one else can sell into or own other than us, and offer solutions to, in this case, millennials and anyone who's camping. So part of the solutions, as part of our universe, is we're adding in new brands. We're about to launch a social media paper called The Local Buzz. And the idea of that is it's going to be all photography of people in our communities. We're going to, here in Durham, we're launching from Pickering to Bowmanville, which is going to be the first paper. And we've got content gatherers and photographers out right now as we speak at events, covering events, and really just creating some positivity in our markets. Nothing news related, nothing about tariffs or that orange guy, or all about positivity and fun. And we want people to see these papers and on fully recycled papers and pick them up and see, pictures of them and their families in the communities doing great things and enjoying themselves in the community. And So those are our two big projects. The third one that's coming, we haven't really announced it yet, so it'd be announcing here for the first time. But we are creating a charity support division where we will choose 4 charities a year, and we will donate to those 4 charities. And we're going to host and run 4 events, which will start with our golf tournament. Next year, we're going to have a father-daughter ball. So it will be a father-daughter. And
those kind of went away. I don't even know what happened to those. I remember they were big, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
Yeah, so we're gonna run 4 events, and the money that we raise from these 4 events are going to be divvied up between the 4 charities of choice, and that will be part of our ongoing strategy moving forward after next year. And so a couple of really cool things. We're trying to branch out and not just be your typical agency, and we want to create things within our communities that again create some positivity and give back. And yeah, that's kind of where
that matter, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's nerve-wracking and it's a lot of work, and but it's a lot of fun.
Without change, there's no growth. So
yeah, I tell everyone on the team, you know what, it's gonna suck for a while. The first guy through the wall always gets his nose bloodied, but we'll explode through that wall, and it's gonna be great.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, Eric, thank you so much for chatting with us today and having this contribution to this conversation that we always have on this podcast around human-centric leadership development. And you can really look no further than what we've just talked about here in terms of your focus on relationships and the needs and the wants of all the people that you have as part of your work club, which I love that you said that. If people wanted to get in touch with you, if they've listened to this podcast, they wanted to reach out, what's the best place for people to find you or connect with you?
Yeah, I'm easy to find. There's not too many Harbottles out there. So Eric at addimark.com, so ADDIMARK.com. You can look us up, AddisonMarketingSolutions.com, or find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Shelly, any last words?
No, I just wanted to thank you for joining us today. It's not, the human-centric leadership is obviously what we are all about at Team Elite, and you are definitely a 2.0 leader, not a 1.0 leader. And I just want to commend you for how you show up for your team every day, as well as your family. So it's been a pleasure, Eric.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And for everyone, oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I was saying, for note, this is the most well-behaved Shelly and I have ever been.
I can well imagine. I actually can't wait to see Shelly misbehave at some point. We've kept it very, very professional, but I see the potential. I know she must be a troublemaker for sure.
Depends on the day, Leanne. Depends on the
right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been known to cause some trouble myself, so we could be lethal together, Shelly. But we'll put that one on the back burner for now.
Eric wants to be in background. Yeah.
So for everyone listening, if you are ready to up your leadership development growth game, you can always come find us at elitehighperformance.com. Or maybe you're curious to learn more about our coaching programs. We also have a high performance coaching certification program. And we are in the year of co-creation. That is our anchor word here at the Leadership Launchpad podcast. So please feel free to email us and reach out to Susan at elitehighperformance.com with any feedback. Where are we hitting the mark? Where can we improve? What topics would you like to see? Any type of guest that you'd like to see, or of course, leadership topics that you might want to learn more about. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend who might be in a new leadership role, or maybe has been in leadership for a long time, looking to freshen up, looking to hear some more, leadership and coaching type of tips. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you back here next week in the locker room. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.